Hi, Barbara. So, very cute horse. It does look like you're just doing a trail walk or a regular walk here. And I'm just going to point out a couple of things. So, with the way you're sitting, your leg is out in front of you some. It's closer to your horse's shoulder. And with you just doing a regular trail walk, you want, if possible, to keep your leg underneath you. It'll keep you more balanced. So you want your shoulder over your hip and then your heel underneath your hip. So what I would try to do is, instead of being that far on the saddle, is to try to scoot a little bit more forward if you can, and then try to push your lower leg back a couple more inches so we can get a better line going here. Just slow walking or trail walking, but you're going to practice gait. I would try riding in the middle of the road and practice holding your horse straight, because a lot of horses will wobble back and forth, but you won't know because you're kind of at the edge of the road here and then you were at the edge of the road on the other side. But it's a good regular trail walk. You're tilted just a little bit forward here. And when you take the turn, your horse takes advantage of that and kind of drags you around the turn. So you go to take the turn, and you see how you get tilted forward here? So then the horse just pulls you around the turn and cuts your turn in. So before you take any turns, you want to sit back, bend your horse, hold it through the turn. Do not let it pull you. If it is, slide the bit across the tongue by half halting with one hand and half halting with the other, and try to make your turn a little bit wider. And again, it will help a lot if you're leaning back a little bit more because you're tilted forward. So you want that shoulder over your hip. So you want to bring that upper body back. Prepare for the turn by looking, then bending your horse, then holding it through the turn, and just make that turn a little bit wider if possible. And then you said you were going to come back at a flat walk. So it looks like you might be going downhill. Sometimes it's hard to tell on video, which can make the horse a little bit more lateral, but your horse looks pretty good and relaxed. So the only thing I would do is just keep his head a little bit straighter. Don't let him turn his head side to side. So let's watch you make this turn here. So you fall forward. He just turns around and doesn't bend or anything. So I put it in slow motion so you can see better. So your head should have been turned. You should be leaning back. His head should be lower. You should make that turn wider, be leaning back and have your leg underneath you with more contact on the rein, and then straighten him out, and then you can start going forward. Now the other thing, it doesn't look like it's a lot faster, so it still kind of looks like you're going the same speed. So for the flat walk, I would try to go a little bit faster with them, and then just holding him straight in between your hands. And I would tend, if nobody comes down that road, to practice it in the center of the road instead of on the side. Now with this one, you guys kind of started the camera and we're behind you, so it's very hard to see what's going on. So when you take any more videos, you want to ride right in front of the camera here. Ride past it, turn around down there, come back and ride past it again. So the horse is like this, so I can see it better. Versus here, it's kind of behind you, so I can't see that much. But I can still tell that you're tilted forward. Your leg is out and ahead of you, so it's just not a very good balanced position. And when you take the turn again, I'm going to skip forward because we can't see that much from the back. But when you take that turn, your horse is just dragging you around the turn. So again, you want to lean back, get the bend, look where you're going, and hold him together better. So you want to, right there, you want to lean back, and you want to get that bend, and we also want to get your horse's head down so he has better control. He comes around the turn, and you can tell he immediately starts taking over. And he doesn't need his head up to do this gait, at least from what I'm seeing right here. So at this flat walk, he could have his head lower, and that would give you a lot more control. And I would keep more contact. You're very light with your hands, but to help him, I think you need to straighten that rein more. So what you want to do is bring your upper body back. That'll help. And then hold a little bit more contact so you don't have a loop in the rein. And you can practice with another person, just holding that rein straight and have the other person hold the rein at the end. And then you can practice how much pressure you need to put to make that rein straight. And then as you went down here.
That's what I've done.
Okay. So the speed's good, but I'd like his head a little bit lower. So I would do more pressure on the rein to keep his head down. I would be holding him straight in between your legs, sitting back just a little bit more since you're going downhill. But you see, he started taking over, so he started getting faster. And then when you start to pull, he objected, and then he just takes control. So here you're falling forward, but you're also staring at his head. You want to look where you're going. And we have to have a cue to bring his head down. So when he starts doing something like this, you get ahead of him and get that head way down. Now you're sitting back, which is good in case he does something, but that leg is way out in front of you. If he tends to buck, that's okay. I mean, it's not okay to buck, but the position's okay because it'll keep you safe. But otherwise, you're trying to keep that leg underneath you, because if he went to rear or something else instead, you're going to be completely off balanced and you might pull on him, and that's how people flip their horses over. So we got to work a little bit more on his behavior there. I would have slid the bit, not just held. You want to lift your hand up so you follow where their head goes. So if his head comes up, your hands come up. You can glance at his head, but you don't want to stare at it. They can totally feel when you do that, and they know they got you. So lift your hand up, keep your upper body back, slide the bit a little bit hard, and then bring that leg back, your left leg, and you got to push his body back over to get control of him. It's kind of like when your car starts to spin and you have to steer out of the spin. So see here, he's throwing his head, but you're pulling your hands down, which then puts the bit pulling on the bars of his mouth, which actually makes him throw his head up more. And that gives you less control versus more control. So he's got you there. So we got to work on that body position, getting your leg underneath you and getting control of him. Now it's hard. You know, he might have spooked at something and you might be stopping to let him look, which is okay if he tends to calm down after he looks. But if he's one that doesn't, then we got to get his attention and keep him working instead. It's a hard line because, again, I don't know what's going on right here when this happened. We'll see if in the next video you tell me. But if he does something goofy and he's not a spooky horse and we let him stop and look and see what it is and he calms down, then that's fine to do. But if he's not, or he does this stuff all the time, then we don't want to stop and let him look because it's rewarding him and he's taken over. Or he's like, I don't like that object. I want to look at it. And then we're letting him do it. So then he's never really going to listen to you. So maybe you can tell me in the message what was actually going on here so I have a better idea. Okay, so here's the start of the next video, but you're already falling forward. I am guessing that this is going towards home because he keeps getting fast going this direction. And again, it appears to me it's going downhill because he gets pacey more this direction. So it could be downhill or it could just be he's excited to go home. And so we have to fix that. My recommendation is that you ride him forward, practice your flat walk going up the hill, and on the way coming back down the hill, I would serpentine leg yield and try to make him go slow, because we have to fix the other things first before you can go fast down the hill, and he's just getting pacey. So the leg yield and the serpentine would help. It would also help to focus his mind on something else. When you're done riding, this is a great example of a horse that should be tied up if this is going towards home, and that's why he's getting excited. when you go home, I'd leave the saddle on, tighten that girth up, take the bridle off, tie him up somewhere where the rope's kind of short, like just a foot of rope, and let him stand there for a couple of hours, or at least 20 minutes if you can. And don't feed him any treats or anything like that when you get back home. If you can ride around home, I would do that. But to me, it appears that he's barn sour. Now, as you go off, again, you're tilted forward, so as you make this turn, he just drags you around that turn again. So we got to get you much more balanced and stronger by getting your upper body back and getting that leg underneath you. If the saddle tilts back, that can push your leg forward. Then you might have to put a shim under the back of the saddle to raise it up. Some endurance saddles naturally push your leg forward. So if that's the case and the stirrups can be moved, sometimes there's bars that are longer and you can move the stirrups back. That's what I'd do, because we need that leg underneath you to give you better balance. So now as you're going up, this is a good speed for a flat walk, and you're very nice, but with him acting up and doing all those things, I would sit up nice and tall. So I'd bring the shoulders back over your hips, get that leg underneath you, bend the elbow, keep more contact on the rein. He needs to know that you're in control, not him. And at the moment, he's in control. So you just want to keep more contact, and then if we could get his head down just a little bit more, that would be a better position. Now, as you get up here, he again turns and just drags you around that turn. So we want in time to, again, break that turn down, and you might even want to walk, stop as you're making the turn. So you get better control of him, because he takes that turn and then he just starts speeding back up and you're falling forward. But it's better you're more in the middle of the trail, which is good. That helps you to hold him straighter, because we want to keep him right in between your hands and your legs. Now, you were going at a decent speed and you're flat walking, and then I'm not sure if you sped him up or he sped up, but you're going downhill, so he starts getting step pacey and pacey. And then it looks like he's just dragging you towards home, and you're getting yourself in more of that chair seat. See how your legs way up on his shoulder? And when they're pacey, if we get more in that chair seat, it makes them pace more, because it makes them invert their back. So we got to get yourself balanced, slow him down, and again, we'll get his head down, but then again, I would just walk or flat walk back, doing a leg yield or a serpentine every single time, so he realizes it's not the right thing to run back that direction. Okay, I'm gonna mention something here. So your throw latch, which helps hold the bridle, so if we fall off, we don't pull it off, should be tighter. It should hang mid-cheek. You should be able to fit your fist back here, but to me, it looks like this is way too long. And I like to tell everybody everything I'm seeing. Now let me get back to the beginning of this video. So your speed coming down was pretty good. He's got a 4-beat gait there. Then he starts speeding up. So I want to make sure that's your choice, not his. Then he starts acting up. And right here, that's an attitude. So we don't want him pulling you forward. You're already falling forward. So what we want to do is slide the bit by using one hand and then the other hand, one hand and then the other hand. Anytime he pulls down and pulls you forward. Now, if you just had this headset, this would be fine. But we don't want him pulling you down into it. That's just going to make him heavy on the forehand or more weight on his front end. And if you're going downhill, that also puts more weight on their front end. So he kind of popped it up, and I don't see you correcting anything. You're kind of letting him put his head up and down. So again, that's giving him the idea that he's in charge. And now he starts to get his legs a little bit closer together, but there's no contact on the rein to tell him, hey, we need to slow down because you're speeding up your legs and we're going more towards the pace. So we got to have more pull on that rein and half halt to keep him going the same speed, because otherwise he does what many gaited horses do, is he just keeps speeding up more and more, and then he's not doing such a good gait there. He's getting a lot pacier. And then he's bulging left. You got his head to the right, but he's just dragging you back there. The other thing I want to mention is the reins are too long and you want to shorten them up about 4 to 6 inches. So your hands are in front of the saddle at least a couple of inches. And the next time you do videos, whoever is videotaping, I would ask that they back up about 20 feet or so we get a better view of you, because they're a little too close to you, and then I'm seeing the front, only a little of the side and a lot of the back, and what I need to see is a lot of the side. So as you're coming up, now he's got a better footfall here and he's doing more of a running walk, which is just a faster flat walk. And again, the same things are happening though. You're falling a little forward. You're throwing your hands away too much. There's not enough contact. And again, for him at this point in time, you don't need to be tilted forward because he's gaiting well. He's not pacing. So I would bring that upper body back, get your shoulder over your hip. We got to get you up more in the front of the saddle, get that leg back underneath you. But he otherwise has a nice running walk here. But again, everything is kind of on this horse's own agenda. Because to me, it looks like he does it when he wants, and then he takes total advantage of you when he wants. And that's not good. And then the same thing happens on the turn. You lean forward and he drags you around the turn. And then the speed control when you come back starts off well. And then as you get closer, so there he pulls you around the turn and he starts off well, but he's not paying any attention. You got to keep his head straight. You got to bend your elbow, lean back more, keep more contact on his mouth. So you feel his mouth pulling against you a little bit, like a pound of pressure. And then as you get closer down the road, he just starts speeding up and not listening to you and dragging you. But here he has too loose of a rein, and then he just takes advantage of it. So he just speeds up, and then it's very hard for you to regain control because those reins are long, and then your body position is very unbalanced. So we kind of have to break things down and then try to build it back up. But we got to start with your body position and his headset and control.